Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where you muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. You know what really ticks me off is when my stupid microphone gets messed up right before I start. But now it is all fixed. Thank you, everyone who will be watching tonight and who will be watching on the replay. I successfully, before Advent began, watched all of the Harry Potter movies, rather rewatched them, and some for the first time in many, many years. I tend to watch the first few several times and the last ones not so much. So it was an interesting experience. But now we are on the Chamber of Secrets. I put this together and I, just didn't have the time, so now I do. Here I am with you as we discuss. Now, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets came out exactly 1 year after the first one. So it really was a treat because we were getting back-to-back Harry Potter movies, and then from here on out, it was every 18 months, barring the rather controversial and, may I say, disastrous delay of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I will get to that when we get to that movie because, boy, did that suck. And it was perhaps part of the reason why I didn't enjoy the movie, because once it finally showed up, I was like, really? Really? We waited for this? But I digress. We are still on the second one. Now, I recall watching this once again at Thanksgiving Day with my mother. We saw that Harry had kind of grown up a little bit. His voice was now deep. So was Ron. So was Draco's. Hermione was a little bit taller. She still had her bushy hair. I was really disappointed when they got rid of it because that's very important for Hermione, but I guess they suck. So if that's the way they want to be, that's the way they want to be. Things got weird toward the end. I recall not really getting some of the things in this movie. For example, how can a living memory be in a diary, etc.? But thankfully, because Rowling actually planned everything out, it all made sense once we found out about the Horcruxes. So as I go through this, I'm going to be going through some of my thoughts on the movie, as well as how these will come to fruition later in the story. I do recall Rowling mentioning that the only time she intervened in the story, the way they were doing it, is if they were leaving out key moments. So here we go. Oh, look, there's Dobby. Speaking of Dobby, when we start off, Harry Potter has Dudley's second bedroom. You see his Gryffindor thing, his Hogwarts, no longer living in the cupboard under the stairs. Harry is to be locked away that night, though, to pretend he doesn't exist, because the Dursleys are having his boss over for dinner, and I think there's either a job or a raise, which Mr. Dursley is wanting to get. So this is a very, very important dinner. Of course, Dobby shows up and starts making a racket, putting that in danger. Hello, Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. Thank you for being here. We're talking about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This introduces us to house elves and slavery in Harry Potter. Sadly, they didn't include Hermione's crusade against its spew later on. But it's really horrible when you think about it. Look at poor little Dobby. He has to just go around in a potato sack. And when he is disloyal to his master, he starts punishing himself, beating himself up. Harry rightly says, that's horrible. This is terrible. Dobby is also quite cute and funny, which is why what happens in the final book is so devastating. Oh boy. Dobby, when he meets his maker, it's really awful. By the way, spoilers for all 7 books and 7 movies of the Harry Potter series, though these reviews are going to be just movies because I just rewatched the movies. I decided I'm just going to rewatch them cold, but every now and then I can't help but refer to the books. Hello, Jacob Ironside. Thank you for being here, giving me a wave and a rose. Much appreciated. So, introduction of a very important character. Look at Dobby. I mean, my gosh. He's ugly, but he's still adorable. Still adorable. This is after I believe he's been freed because he's holding his little sock. He's so happy. He's always so happy to serve Harry Potter because Harry Potter is always so nice to him. And when Harry Potter shows him consideration and he just starts boo-hooing, it's just awful. No, gosh, Dobby, we love you. Iconic moment when Dobby decides to make this pavlova thing float and land on top of the lady, and Harry is trying to like grab it to stop it, but what it looks like Harry is actually dropping it on her head. And then Mr. Dursley's like, it's my nephew. He's very disturbed, which would make sense. Why would a kid randomly do this? This gets Harry in really big trouble. In the book, I believe they almost expelled him because they thought Harry had done magic, because the idea was that would be the only reason why magic would be coming from here. They rightly left out that little subplot. By the way, though, it was a great tragedy that this thing got dropped because, oh my gosh, doesn't that look delicious? I want to have that with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, after dinner tea. Oh, gee, that would have been so good. So damn you, Dobby. How dare you? How very dare you? Well, another iconic moment, the flying car, because the Weasley's dad is so into Muggle technology and he had bewitched the Muggle items, one of which was this car. The Weasley twins with Ron come and rescue Harry from his bedroom where he's all locked up. I just love this because, first of all, I love the Weasley twins. And it was just so mischievous how they show up. It's like, we're breaking you out. And they fly away, saving Harry. At the end of it, Ron happens to go, by the way, happy birthday, Harry. That's another recurring thing, at least that they kept in the first two movies. We get introduced to the Weasley's home. Here is the Weasley's home, which never burned down. So, Half-Blood Prince, I'm looking at you and judging you. It had been built onto over the years. This is a very large family. You see the garden, and I just love the way that they're in the middle of the English countryside. But again, more iconic things that we get to see. Chris Columbus did a really good job with the world building and making you feel that you were there and bringing in things that we wanted to see from the books. Speaking of which, the clock where it shows where all the kids are, they could be at school, they could be at home, they could be at the dentist, they could be in prison, lost or playing Quidditch, and it has each of the kids' names on there. I think there's a lot of mothers in this world that would love to have something like this. Didn't keep track, especially when you got 7 kids. Makes me wonder why prison was added. Another new character, Mr. Weasley. We see him for the first time. I forget the name of the actor, but he plays in the Father Brown Mysteries TV show, loosely based on the G.K. Chesterton mystery books, short stories rather. Perfectly cast in my humble opinion. Another iconic person. Hello, everyone coming in. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Look at this. I love this compared with the Dursleys. The Dursleys were we're so hoity-toity in a very small family. They just had one kid. Not there's anything wrong with one kid. I'm not judging that. But you saw the opulence and it was very cold and very yucky. Here, even though it's an absolute mess, there's warmth there. You can tell it's a family. There's familiarity, just the way the kids come in and they're like, "Hi, Dad," and they're all saying hi. Ron's almost a little bit ashamed. It's like, "Oh, it's not much, but it's home." And Harry's like, "No, I think it's brilliant." But and kudos to the set people. Just look what they did. We got spoons there, apples, some bread, some teacups, jugs, good stuff. And then you see Molly there. She was introduced in the first movie. Jenny! Jenny comes running down and doesn't know that Harry Potter's there, and her eyes all go wide. That's when we first know that Jenny has a crush on Harry Potter. The brother are all, she's all been talking about you all summer. It's really annoying. And she just runs away. So, setting up what's going to be coming with Harry and Ginny later on in the series. Boom! Another iconic moment. The flu powder and traveling through the chimney, which is a rather disturbing way to travel, in my pure, humble opinion. No, thank you. But they're going to get their books for the new year. Harry is very nervous, so instead of saying diagonally, he says diagonally, and ends up at another iconic place in Nocturne Alley in the shop, which again is going to play a role later on in the series. So every little scene, every little bit is important. If I am correct, this might be one of those that Rowling said kind of needed to be in, because I could see how they would want to leave it out. But look at that again. Oh, the sets. I love the sets. And what I also love is there's so many of these things that we can have that are replicas. So if we want to play around, I have my bathroom downstairs. I might do a video about it, because our family lore is it looks so much like Harry's cupboard under the stairs. So it's like we called it the Harry Potter bathroom, maybe when the kids were little. And I have it all decorated up with Gryffindor, as though this is Harry's room under the stairs. That happens to be a toilet. A cutscene shows Mr. Malfoy doing some nefarious deals with him, showing that he deals in illegal dark magic items, but they decided to cut it. I forget why. I'm speculating here because I don't recall. I'm speculating it was because his entrance was kind of cooler later. I don't know. Love Lucius. Hermione got expelled. No, she didn't. Notorious. Hermione shows up, looking much older. Harry's glasses are broken, and she fixed them, but she shouldn't have, because they're not allowed to do magic outside of school. It was a great moment added to the screenplay, but in Harry Potter lore, it also was something inconsistent. She should have been expelled, but I guess we can forgive them. So we see Hermione's older. Gilderoy Lockhart, who I love more than life itself. Kenneth Branagh is absolutely superbly cast as Gilderoy Lockhart. He is very vain. He writes all these books, Magical Me, that tell of his great exploits everywhere. From the very beginning, we start to realize that he is a bit of a charlatan. Yeah, I don't know what the word is. I can't pronounce it right tonight, so I'm not going to try. He's a faker. He's very shady, but he's good looking, and the ladies are all over him. Hermione's all sighing. Ron says to Harry, "My mom fancies him," and she like hits him like, "Shut up." He got most charming smile on which weekly he was featured, and I just love this character so much. Gosh darn it. Hello and TGIF. Yes, 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 indeed. TGIF forever. I decided to go ahead and get this going. I've had this ready to go for like 2 weeks. It just didn't find the time. And I need to stay awake. So I'm spend this time with you lovely people. So if y'all like Gilderoy Lockhart, who's your favorite character, please let me know in the chat. Look at those books, the way they're all curvy. Hermione's parents. This reminded me of something. Help me if you know the lore. I keep saying this reminded me of something, but it just keeps reminding me that muggles are allowed to hang out in the magical world if they're related, so they're allowed to come visit. I find that interesting. But here they are. They're talking with Mr. Weasley. He's very interested in them because he likes muggles. He's fascinated by them. This is where Lucius Malfoy is very snidely talking about Hermione's parents because being muggles and the wizarding world equivalent of racist, he looks down on muggles. I think they use the same cast in the 7th movie. Look who it is. It's Lucius Malfoy. I love him. I love the actor. I love everything he does. This is perfect. Absolute perfect casting. Look at his wand there. Oh, and the journey that he goes through by the end. The Malfoys have one of the most interesting journeys, in my humble opinion, in the movies, as of course Malfoy for certain does. But just moo ha ha ha, I'm evil. He has this confrontation with Mr. Weasley. See over there, there's Malfoy, whose voice is changed and also a bit older. Key moment, though. He picks up Jenny's book and is like, oh, look, it's all tattered. But he actually sneaks in the Riddle's diary and puts it back. So blink and you miss it, but here it is. I think maybe right after the switcheroo happened, but whoops, there we go. Start off with one book, now we have 2. So it's all Lucius Malfoy's fault. And poor Jenny. I mean, my gosh, she's just a kid. They are really awful to children in this. My gosh. Murdering them and all sorts of things. I recall when these books came out, I was a little bit, dude, these are kids. Wow, this is pretty dark. We now know that is a Horcrux, however. So, Lucius, you suck. Yay, there's Malfoy. This is the first time we see voice changed Malfoy. Also a little bit older, sporting his Slytherin clothes, fancier clothes, not as used as the other people. Looking down on everyone. You can tell he's a little bit jealous because Lockhart is making a big fuss over Ron. Rather, Harry. My gosh. Another appearance from the book that will be very important later is the Whomping Willow. Harry and Ron, they miss the train. We now know later that it was Dobby trying to stop Harry Potter from going to Hogwarts, and they crash into the Whomping Willow, which starts to try to eat them and destroy them. The next movie shows us why the Whomping Willow is so important. And once again, Harry and Ron don't get expelled. Snape said that he would expel them. But apparently, McGonagall's too easy on them. Maybe even showing favoritism. Maybe she kind of sucks. Professor Sprout and the Mandrakes. This is just so awesome how they bring this stuff to life. They scream. If they're full grown, they can kill you. But if you are as babies, it just makes you faint. One of my favorite moments that I can relate to as a teacher is when Neville just falls over and faints. And they're all like, no, he's not hurt. He just fainted for other reasons. And she's like, "Oh, okay, then just leave them there." This whole idea of, well, if they're not dead, if they're not hurt, they'll be fine. They'll come around. A little more tougher on kids. Kids used to be tougher. Oh, and once again, poor Neville. Why is it always me? The Cornish pixies in the Defense Against the Dark Arts class. This is Lockhart being a horrible, horrible teacher. He unleashes these, and we learn that he can't fix it, but Hermione can. Another hint of who he really is. The slugs. We learn about the whole mudblood situation. When Draco calls Hermione a mudblood, and everyone's like, oh. And Ron, being pissed off, says eat slugs, but it backfires because his wand is broken. Again, a huge plot point that the whole racist thing is going to be a major part of Voldemort and how things go down in the final books, in the final movies. Pet peeve in the movie, they have Hermione explaining and like she knows all about it when it's really Ron who does. They have a way of giving Hermione Ron's lines. I learned later that the writer liked Hermione the best. And so to the detriment perhaps of other characters. There's a lot of theories about this. This is creepy. Creepy, creepy, creepy. They're minding their own business, and you see Mrs. Norris petrified. And in blood, it's written, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the heir, beware. This is evil stuff. This is scary stuff. I watched this as an adult, and I was disturbed by this plot. I really, really was. This is scary. And the poor kitty cat. It's not Mrs. Norris's fault. My gosh, everyone loves Mrs. Norris. Exposition. They go, hey, McGonagall, what's the Chamber of Secrets? In the book, it was the the History of Magic professor, the ghost, Professor Binns, who explains it, but they don't use him in the movie, so it is McGonagall who takes the place. The incomparable Maggie Smith, who basically channels this character. She is so amazing. And she explains the whole Chamber of Secrets thing. Harry's arm turning to rubber. He breaks his arm in a Quidditch match. And Lockhart says, I'm going to fix it. And he's like, no, not you. And Lockhart's all, he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. And he does this spell, which turns Harry's arm into like rubber. All the bones basically disappear. So Harry has to go and regrow the Skelegrow. Regrow his bones. Another iconic moment. Gilderoy Lockhart. Can everybody see me? Can you hear me? Looking really smart and really dapper, doing the dueling club. What starts off as a typical Harry versus Draco thing turns into a major plot point because we see that Harry can speak parcel tongue. Our first hint, maybe, help me out if I'm wrong, about what we know about Harry and Voldemort. That he is himself a Horcrux. It's really creepy, the whole parcel tongue thing. It sounds like a snake slithering. And of course, no one understood what he was saying to the snake. He was trying to tell the snake to stop. But I like the way that the actors, the characters are freaked out. And if we have like an heir of Slytherin and he's going around speaking parcel tongue, it's not a big leap to think that everyone believes he is the heir of Slytherin and he is the one that's causing these attacks. And the attacks are against muggles. Because racist. On the other hand, did they ever stop and think, but wait a second, Hermione is his best friend and she's a muggle, but I digress. We see the hat again. He's chatting away with Harry. Harry's insecure about his being put into Gryffindor, that the hat wanted to put him into Slytherin. So it's like, maybe there was a mistake. Maybe I am the heir of Slytherin. And the hat, yaps him through this, but this is also going to be a key thing later. Not just in the end of the movie, that Harry is really a true Gryffindor because you get to choose who you are. That nothing is fated. No one has their life mapped out before them. We're going to see, this is going to be part of the final battle. Everything's planted. Everything's foreshadowed. Which is frankly what a good writer should do, for crying out loud. So props to Rowling for planning her series. The Phoenix. Death coming from the ashes. I sometimes call Fawkes the Phoenix Deus Ex Machina. The way he shows up at the end is a little bit ridiculous and very Deus Ex Machina-y. The movies don't really develop this whole idea of death, rebirth, etc. Well, wait a second. They do show it at the end of Half-Blood Prince. And Harry's afraid that Dumbledore thinks he killed his bird. And Dumbledore's like, no, that's just what Fawkes does. They can also carry heavy items. Yeah. Maybe a little too much foreshadowing. Moaning Myrtle, who lives in the bathroom. She's a pest to the girls. No one ever likes to go in there, but that makes it a great place to hide. She's also a little bit creepy, a little bit fixated on Harry. If you go to the Universal Studios, you can hear Moaning Myrtle in the bathroom. It's quite disturbing. Actually, this is a very creepy picture of her. But the reason why they're in there is they want to find out if Draco and all them know what's going on, if they're the ones behind all this. So she brews Polyjuice Potion. Look how cute she is when she was little. She still looks like a little girl in this one. Iconic. When Harry becomes Crabbe and Goyle, and Harry is all, I read about it. He's like, I didn't know you could read, which I did hear was improvised. So Harry and Ron infiltrate Slytherin. So we get to see the Slytherin common room. How awesome. I am a Slytherin. It happened from years of cynicism. But look at this. Look at the set. I never thought I would want to hang out in a dungeon, but oh my gosh. Bring it on. Hermione turned herself into a cat. Instead of getting a hair from somebody, she got the person's cat hair. So Hermione is going to be a cat for a month, and they even talk about her having hairballs. It's really terrible, but cute. And she's like, Look at my face. And Ron's, look at your tail. But then she gets petrified. Actually, Hermione really gets it in this one. She's a cat. Well, she gets shamed for being a mudblood. Then she turns into a cat, and then she gets petrified. But the reason why her hand is like this is she had a mirror because she figured out that the reason why people weren't dying from the monster is because it was the reflections instead of looking directly in, which happened several years before the show takes place. Oh, look how sad they are. Poor Hermione. McGonagall's all like, I think this might close the school. Well, why don't they close the school right then and there? Freaks. Aragog. Julian Glover voices him. Ron and Harry go out there from a hint from Hagrid. And that's where they find out that he's not the monster, I think, or that Hagrid had been expelled. Oh my gosh, what the hell did they find out from him? I forget what it was, and I just watched it too just a few weeks ago. But to make a long story short, they get chased by all the other little spiders, and I hate this scene because I can't stand spiders. But this is the pet that they thought had killed the little girl back in the past, but that was not the case. He's like, didn't kill. And Hagrid is innocent. That's why Hagrid had been expelled. Wasn't allowed to do magic, etc. And then Harry finds a book. Someone had thrown it at Moaning Myrtle. So Harry's like, weird book. What should I do? I'll just start writing in it, and when it answers me back, I'll interact. The book takes Harry into the past, tells him Tom Riddle. Now, this is where they should have had the internet or something, or maybe it should have been something they talked about concerning Voldemort, because the second the book was all, hi, I'm Tom Riddle, Harry would have known it was Voldemort, because that was his name. But no one ever asked me. So there's young Tom Riddle, young Voldemort, the night that Moaning Myrtle is killed by the basilisk. He frames Hagrid for it. So it's Tom Riddle was the one, the heir of Slytherin. When they find out that Ginny has been kidnapped, they want to go save her, and they bring along Lockhart, who is trying to run away. But they force him to come with them because they're like, you've got to do this. And then that's how they find out that he really is a faker. And he's like, but guess what, people? I'm going to go ahead and erase your memories. So they're going to think I'm the hero. Screw you all. But it backfires on him. And then his brain turns to mush. So karma happens to Gilderoy Lockhart. That's how we know that he was able to write all those books. He stole people's stories. But because Ron's wand was broken, this is how it turns out for him. Maybe a little too convenient. Harry's like, hey, it's Tom. Hey, you got to help me with Ginny. And Tom's like, yeah, Harry. Uh-huh. And finally, Harry gets a bit of a clue. Then they mess around with Tom Marvolo Riddle that turns into I am Lord Voldemort. Dun, dun, dun. And he unleashes the basilisk, which chases Harry all over the place. But as Harry's about ready to die, the Deus Ex Machina shows up, the Phoenix. So along comes the Phoenix and drops the hat, the sorting hat, wherein Harry... Oh, whoops, there's the basilisk. Maybe my pictures were out of order. Yeah, that thing is scary. You don't want to mess around with this. Here we go. So Harry pulls out of the hat the sword of Gryffindor, showing, "Ha ha! I am a true Gryffindor," and stabs the basilisk. Several things here happen. Harry stabs it with the basilisk, so the basilisk venom gets into the sword of Gryffindor. Therefore, the sword of Gryffindor can kill Horcruxes because how convenient, basilisk venom is what kills a Horcrux. So Harry not just saved his life and Ginny's here, he actually saved the entire world by making a Horcrux killer. Then he takes the fang, which also has the venom, stabs the book. Now, how Harry knew to do this, I forget. Maybe that was in the book. But just looking at the movie, he did that. Another plot point, because the basilisk fangs will be used in movie 7 to destroy some Horcruxes and some attempts to destroy the Horcrux. So little did Harry know, he actually literally destroyed part of Voldemort here, not just the memory of Voldemort. Saving the world. Ginny's all, "Oh, Harry, I didn't know." She was like spell enchanted. This created a bond between the two characters, which was not followed up on in the movies, but was in the books, because they both knew what it was like to be messed with by Voldemort. And she was possessed by Voldemort. It had an effect on her. Harry's like, "I'm going to die, though." But Deus Ex Machina saves his life. Oops, sorry. Deus Ex Machina weeps into his wounds, which saves him. Fox the Phoenix. So yay, Harry's not going to die after all. And then they all end up back in the headmaster's office, where there is a confrontation with Lucius Malfoy. Dumbledore pretty much lets him know, it's like, this is kind of your book. Amazing how that happened. If looks could kill between Harry and Lucius, Lucius knows, I've been thwarted so far, and I hate you all, but another day I shall get you, Harry. Harry gives him back the book and frees Dobby. He gives Dobby a sock. Dobby is free, coming back to us in movie 7, which makes you cry. Poor Dobby, free Dobby. So Dobby will no longer be a slave. Lucius is mad, kind of tries to kill Harry, but Dobby protects him. And then he's like, maybe one day Harry Potter will always be here to save the day. And Harry's like, don't worry, I will. Foreshadowing! Hermione's all better and she runs and she hugs Harry, but when she gets to Ron, it's a very awkward handshake. Why is it a very awkward handshake? Because they're foreshadowing that there is more between the two. They're going to add a few more of those in the next movie. And then Hagrid shows up at a very cheesy, "Yay, we all love you, Hagrid," and they all start to clap, and that's how the movie ends. Incredibly cheesy, but for some reason, maybe I was just emotional or hormones or whatever, but I found this really moving. It's like, yay! Because this dude, for how many years? 50, 40 years? They age weird in the wizarding world. Was falsely accused of keeping a monster that they said killed a girl. So everyone's welcoming him back in, all the extras. And that's how it ends. Yay! I always like to have some quotes to live by. Quotes to live by at the end. It's not our abilities that makes us who we are, Harry. It's our choices. And this is the theme of this one that I think really hits home. It's not our abilities that make us who we are. You can have abilities. You can be very skilled at something, but it's your choices. And you always have a choice. You always have a choice to be a good person. You have a choice to be a bad person. You have a choice to do something mean. You also have a choice to do something nice. Or guess what you also have? You also have a choice to maybe just walk away. Will it really kill you to just walk away and move on? These are things that I think about all the time. It's always a part of it's always a part of my examination of conscience. And it's hard to walk away, but sometimes there are choices that we just need to do that are for our best. And here it's making the choice of, well, are you going to be a Gryffindor or you're going to be a Slytherin? Well, being a Gryffindor, does that necessarily make you a better person? No. But the the theme is here. The theme is here. It's your choices that make you who you are. You can also make a choice. Let's just say you come into a lot of money. You could do good things with it. You could invest it, or you could spend it on frivolous things and find yourself broke again. Who are you? That's what I ask myself. Who am I, and how do my choices reflect who I am or who the person is that I want to be? And this is what makes Harry Potter great, in my humble opinion. These aren't new ideas, but they're being presented in a good way. They're being presented in a way that people can understand, people can relate to, and to a new generation. The kids that read these books in the 90s and then in the 2000s, and now that the people that read the books, their kids are growing up, they're going to read them too, and they're going to talk about this. It's not your ability that makes you who you are, it's your choices. And it's in your hands and nobody else's. Gosh darn it. That's good stuff right there. So if there's one thing to get out of this movie, that is what it is. I've used this picture before, but I'm going to use it again. Kudos to John Williams. His score in this, the very beautiful theme that goes with Fox the Phoenix. Sometimes very quiet, sometimes very big and majestic. 2 thumbs up. We love you, John Williams. And these movies would not be what they are without you. Many other movies, too. So that is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. A little bit of a review. What would I give this movie? I still give these movies a very high rating. Very high rating. They accomplish what they're supposed to do. They create great memories, and they're rewatchable. When I say they, I maybe slipped into the first 2 movies. I see them often together. Same director, same feel, same atmosphere. Things are going to shift in the third one, which makes sense as the themes of the show change. I don't know. I hate to give ratings, but definitely a 9 out of 10. Not a 10 out of 10. Maybe a little bit too long. Some things a little too convenient, too cheesy. But as for an adaptation, I think it's fantastic. It makes you believe in magic and makes you think, which is really what's important. So that's that. Thank you, everyone that's been popping in and out, people that might be listening in the replay. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Taylor Swift, for the real. Wouldn't that be awesome if the real Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. Thank you for coming in and waving. Thank you, Jacob Ironside, Bone, and everyone else. I appreciate you being here. And let me know if you've rewatched some of these lately. Let me know in the comments, and maybe what you're finding, what kind of magic you're finding right now in maybe an older material. Because let's face it, a lot of the new stuff we know is not very good. So go backwards, though there is some good stuff. And I maybe like to highlight those whenever I can. But that's Harry Potter for us. I think that the new one planned by HBO, I do not believe it will be able to capture the magic in the way that these movies did. It might allegedly be more faithful to the book, like to the letter of the book, but I don't know if they will be faithful to the spirit. So that's it for me this evening. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain to focus on making the right choices because that is what determines who you really are.